and welcome to Being Black in Britain, the podcast that captures the nature and the essence of the Black experience across the UK, starting with the north of England. In this episode, we're going to do it a little bit different. I am joined by three Black men who will be exploring aspects of work life, their work ethic, attitudes to work, and we'll also be exploring the definition of success and how we might view success in our realities. This discussion is going to be split into two parts. In the first half, we discuss work ethic. In the second half, we talk all things success. Let's go. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Thanks
for getting on set with us. First and foremost, I'd like you to introduce yourself so we know who we're speaking to. Starting with you. Can you introduce yourself, please, John?
Wonderful. So yes, I'm John. I work as a project manager within the construction industry. So
thank you.
That's me.
Yeah, so I'm Sam, obviously your husband. I'm a mechanical engineer / Revit BIM technician, also within the construction industry. So yeah, over to you two.
Yeah, my name is Toyin. I'm a business improvement manager and I'm an accountant by training.
Nice. Also, just a little heads up, husband is on set today, so we're going to try not to have a domestic. If at all we need a timeout, we're going to call it and we'll take a breather, but no domestics today. Is that all right, babe?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the purpose of today then is to explore your attitudes to work, how you view work, and how you view certain opinions, popular and unpopular opinions, around how we might engage with work as Black British persons, right? But before we start, I want to explore terminology, definitions, just so we kind of lay it on the table and we know what we're talking about. Work ethic. What is work ethic in your estimation? Can you define it, John? What is work ethic?
So I would say work ethic is the principles that guide the way you behave at work, essentially the values in which you keep within the workplace that govern your behavior, essentially.
Okay. Difference of opinion? Do we agree with that?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I would even say that, in my view, it's your attitude to work.
Okay.
But yeah, of course, the principles that govern the way you behave as well. But for me, it's about your attitude to work itself, the task at hand.
Principles, approaches, attitudes. Okay. And then Sam, what does good work ethic look like for you?
For me personally?
Yeah.
So I think for me personally, obviously going by what the two lads have said, that would mean that when I get into the workplace, my aim is to basically be as proficient as I can be. So be the best at what I'm doing. So knowledgeable in my work. Great attitude, so being able to get along with anyone. Being able to just, get along with clients, colleagues, not being that gossip in the workplace. What else? I think that's pretty much it, to be fair.
That. I think the key word I'm taking from that number one is proficiency, and the second one there is quality of relationships in the workplace or the pursuit of. All right. What about you, John? What is good work ethic?
I think being observant to the environment that you're in and acting accordingly. So there are situations where you may need to be more sensitive in the workplace, and you should be, because of your observation, you then carry yourself in a specific way. There are situations where you need to be more loud and boisterous, for example, if you're on site in the construction industry. There's certain ways you need to behave because it actually pertains to health and safety. For example, you need to project, which may be seen as rude in the office. So, do you get what I mean? So you need to be able to adapt and identify what is proper in this circumstance. So it can differ.
We'll definitely come back to adaptiveness later on. Thank you for that. Toyin?
I would say good work ethic is related to competency.
Okay.
I would say beyond competency, it's ability to, I'm going to say go above and beyond.
Okay.
Do more than's required of you. You mentioned proficiency as well. That's an element of it. But I'd say competency, capacity, and doing more, going above and beyond. Yeah.
Okay. So we're seeing proficiency, competency, adaptiveness, quality relationships in work. My question then becomes, how did you arrive at that because that's not something you get taught in school, really. How did you arrive at defining or viewing work ethic in that way?
I would go and say, for myself, it's observation of good examples around me. Definitely, observing my father, the men around me, the women around me. Coming from an immigrant, family, you see this hardworking ethic that's just shown to you from childhood. You went from the farm to the office, essentially, in the space of 15 years.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? So eventually you have this, you build the idea for hard work, for example. You think about efficiency because you haven't got time to waste. You're trying to get somewhere in a specific time. So those experiences, they help you. And of course, for myself, my faith as well comes into it, in everything in which you do it to as it's unto God, which is what it says in scripture. So that also drives me to try and do as well as I can do. Yeah.
Take that, yeah.
I think going off the back of what John said, for me, it's my faith. I've been working since I was 16, so I've had examples around me as well that's shown me, this is what good work looks like. And then Earl Nightingale, shout out to Big Earl. If you don't know Earl, check him out. He's passed away now, but he was like a self-improvement guy. And a lot of what he talked about was basically how to succeed in the workplace and just being a better overall human being. But it sort of aligns a lot with what John was saying about scripture, in that, especially as Christians, we're called to be excellent in the workplace. It's not enough for you to just be average. That's not what the word of God says. So I think that, and like I say, being exposed, the people that I was exposed to personally, these are men that also have come from nothing and sort of made stuff out of themselves. And I've seen them work hard at it and always being the best of what they do. Do you know what I mean? So I think that for me just meant whatever I did, I was always going to try and be excellent at that. So it's me, really.
Take that.
For me, again, just touching on some of the points that's been mentioned, there are three things that led me to my view of of a good work ethic.
Yeah.
One thing is that upbringing, around being Nigerian myself and African household, being raised, there's an element of hard work that's driven into you from early age, whether that is you have to get good grades in school, you have to do your own work. There's an element of that hard work that's demanded from your parents from an early stage, all through to the point whereby maybe you graduate and you finish university. So that's always been there. So for me, that hard work translates into hard work and good work ethic in the workplace. The second bit is the desire to be the best version of myself. You were mentioning in all things that you do it well, or something like that. So it comes down to your own personal choice, wanting to put your best foot forward, wanting to stand out, wanting to perform well for yourself, and I guess succeed in everything you do. And then the third thing is the fear of, I guess, failure, wanting to be successful again and not wanting to fail in what you do, and the consequences of that. So those are the three things for me that have shaped my approach to having a good work ethic in the workplace.
That's an interesting one, that about the fear of failure. Because I resonate with that. But I guess my question then is, what is the fear? Is it fear of how you might be perceived? Fear of, like you said, what are the consequences of failure, perhaps, or career failure specifically?
For me, thinking about the consequences of career failure, again, it goes back to the being an immigrant situation. My thought process is that my parents have made a certain level of sacrifice with the little that they had back in Nigeria, to get us over to the UK and create a better life for us. Working multiple jobs, sacrificing their own personal relationships. So I have to work hard. I have to do the best I can in every situation that I'm in, especially in the work, to make sure that almost like their sacrifices, the years of stress on their relationship, on their own mental well-being and all that stuff isn't, for lack of a better word, doesn't go to waste, essentially. So I owed myself a duty to almost, show my parents that their hard work, their sacrifices, their decisions wasn't in vain. Yeah.
Do you not think, though, and this is to all of you, do you not feel like that's to some degree an undue amount of pressure to carry on your shoulders, that it's not about you or how. I know you said that, you know, we want to have the best see the best version of ourselves, but is it not a lot of pressure to do this or pursue this to prove a point to the parents that it wasn't in vain? Because that's what they did, and they did the best that they can do. But what if you do the best that you do and it still doesn't pan out as you intended? Do you know what I mean? Isn't that unnecessary or undue pressure?
I think if the pressure is an external pressure, then I think then you have got a problem. So when Toyin sort of mentioned the fear of failure, I resonated with it, but not to the extent of I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to let my mum down.
Okay.
Because for me personally, it's what I think of myself.
Okay.
So for me, it's like I hold myself to a good standard. So in the workplace, I want to be known as the guy who gets things done and the guy who is good at what he does. Do you know what I mean? Because for me, the way I see it is, well, if you're good at what you do, people are willing to pay you then for what you do. Do you know what I mean? If you bring more value, you get more out of it. And at the end of the day, for me, that's how I see it. It's all about the money at the end of the day. It's not like, do you know what I mean? Hey. So for me, the better I am, the more money I can get. So I don't want to fail because I'm like, oh, you know, I'm letting myself down here. Now, if there's an external pressure from my mum or someone else, I think that's dangerous. And I saw that early on in my career. So early on in my career, I used to stay quite late. And I realized for a long time, it was because of the way my bosses perceived me.
Okay.
So from early on, they were like, oh, Sam stays late, Sam puts in hard work. But then it was almost like it was expected every time. So then if I don't do it or they're not sort of approving what I've done or what I've said, then I'm almost sort of be like, oh, I've let them down. And I think it took a while for me to get that balance and go, actually, I can't have my success or my view of success of myself based on someone else's perception, because then I'm a slave to the man. You get me?
That's
So
it.
yeah.
I think I resonate with that. I definitely resonate with that. I think it can't be external pressure that pushes you in that way. I think the fear of failure, for me, for example, always came from a place of I have everything I need to succeed.
Yeah.
Meaning, I've been shown an example where if you work hard, you will move forward. Now, it wasn't an expectation that you're going to make a meal, but it was an expectation that you will move forward from where we have put you, right? So it wasn't pressure from the parents or the society around me. It was pressure that I put on myself to say, you know what, I've got the books, I've got the internet, I've got all that I need, study. You know, I may not be fast as that guy, I may not be as fast as that girl over there, but I'm fast enough to get somewhere. So it has to be manageable. But I think that all depends upon the people you have supporting you as well, because I think we may be quite lucky to have parents who went, for example, my father said to me, your certificate is for you. I won't eat it. You won't feed me. He said, I won't rely upon your pay. You're going to have a family of your own. You're going to have people who are going to rely upon you. So work for that, not working for me. So it depends on who you have around you.
Okay.
Just to add to that, when I was talking about the pressures of failing and I guess the parents' sacrifices being in vain and whatnot. I mean, personally, there isn't any. I'll say my parents themselves, they've never said to me, if you don't succeed, but there's no pressure from them on that regard. But for me, at the back of my mind, that's one factor of my reason for hard work.
Yeah.
The other reasons is a personal, like I said, drive to be the best version of myself and create a good future, a good foundation for myself and my future family and whatnot. I wanted to succeed. So there's various factors,
I connect with that. And going back, something that all three of you have almost kind of alluded to is this idea of like this culture of excellence being embedded. Now, this culture of hard work and being embedded. My question then becomes, in light of what we know about the Black experience, now I'm kind of mentally preparing myself for this question because I already know that I acutely disagree with your position on this.
You don't know.
You know what I mean?
You may find out something new.
I'm going to try and be as objective as possible. But in light of what sort of the data says and the statistics say about the Black experience across institutions. So, for example, 2021, we had the Sewell report that talked about the Black experience or Black representation or the experience of different ethnic groups being compared in education, in employment, in health, in policing. Recently, we've had the report by the Met Police that has explained or kind of reaffirmed that, you know, the UK or the police are racist in terms of their practices institutionally. We've had, you know, sort of public health reports that again explore ethnic disparities that kind of compare the Black experience against perhaps the white British experience to say there are clear differences in how Black people and white people experience the world across institutions, right? Now, we don't have time to kind of unpack the headlines of these reports, but my question is, in light of what the statistics are saying, and in comparison with this upbringing where where there's this kind of attitude or culture of excellence and hard work, is it right, or do you agree with the view that Black people, as a collective, should work or must work harder, whether it's 3 times harder, 10 times harder, in order to succeed or to equally succeed in comparison to their white counterparts? And I'll simplify that again. Do Black people need to work 10 times harder than their white counterparts in order to excel, to succeed, and to thrive in the UK society? In the UK specifically?
I had a question, but I'd like to come back to
I'm asking the questions here. I'm asking the questions here.
I know you referenced the stats,
Yeah.
but it'd be quite good to know what the stats is and what the stats are saying, so that I can respond to the stats appropriately. Okay. But we'll come back to that. In terms of the question, apologies. Instead of a question, should Black professionals work 10 times harder than their white counterparts?
Okay.
My answer is no.
Yep.
Okay.
No.
Why should we?
Do we have to work harder?
Wow.
If that's the question, should we have to work hard? Do we have to work harder essentially to reach the same position per se? I think one of the strengths for the immigrant is the understanding that I'm coming into a foreign land,
Right.
which means there are challenges before me that the resident doesn't have.
Yeah.
There's a language barrier.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's a banter barrier.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a banter barrier.
I've never heard anyone say
Trust
that.
me,
Go on,
there
go
is.
on.
There's a banter barrier. There's a
It's true.
relational barrier in general, right? So if you're talking about working hard in that sense, of course, you need to pay attention to the culture you've entered and what may be different or what may not be understood, your mannerisms, the way you speak, all those sort of things. Same thing as if a white person goes to Nigeria now. If you're not careful by the way you speak, the police will put you in jail very quickly. Do you get what I'm saying? But you have to be understanding of where you're at. So yes, we work harder if you're thinking about it in that kind of sense. Now, would it be to the degree of 10 times? I don't agree with that. I don't think that's the case. I think there are situations where we may even have some advantages. We just need to make sure we identify those advantages and take those advantages and use them for our own good. If you're talking about growing up in the UK and the process of getting to a certain position, so for me, I would say education-wise, I definitely had to work harder because I was looked at as a child from Africa who probably doesn't have an understanding of English. So straight away, they put me in learning support, for example.
Right.
That was my experience, even though I could do long multiplication at the age of 6. But they thought he doesn't know anything. So I had to work my way up, right? In those situations, yes, of course, I had to work harder. But once you get into the workplace, especially in engineering, I can only speak for the industry I work in. That's not the case. It's based upon your skill. Have you got the skills? Are you able to make money? If you are, hey, no one's going to stop you. That's what I've seen.
So before you go, can I just, because
I'm really burning.
I'm sort of obviously resonating with what both of them are saying. So in terms of what Toyin said about the stats, for me, I said this before, that stats can be always presented in a certain way. And especially being an engineer, and I'm not saying, I've done some dodgy designs, I haven't, but I know when we need to make the numbers say a certain thing, how we make them say a certain thing.
It's true.
So to sort of conclude that statement and then go, based on that, do Black people then need to work 10 times harder? That's where I think I disagree. Because like John said, there's so many nuances that come as being Black. being black in Britain is different for black people everywhere. So like all of us sat here, we came from immigrant parents. You came here when you were 2. So you're pretty much British. You're more British than you are as him in terms of understanding the culture and everything about England. We came here, I came when I was 10.
12, 7.
12, 7. So now we're all almost, 30. But,
Say my age.
we spent more time in this country than we have in our sort of motherlands.
Yeah.
So if anything, we've grown accustomed to the culture and everything. So for us, for example, when we step into the workplace, we understand the banter.
Yeah.
We're able to get on with our white counterparts because it's like, it's pretty much our country too.
Yeah.
If you then get a 30-year-old who comes now from Africa and you put them into the workplace, they will struggle differently to what I will, because for them, again, like John said, it's totally new for them. And that's what our parents experienced. Now, I use my own mum as an example. Great woman, hard worker. But when she comes back with some of the stories that she goes on about, I can tell it's just a barrier because she's in a foreign land and the banter's not the same.
It's a place that she doesn't consider home. It's not her home.
Exactly. And they haven't, for a lot of our parents, for example, they haven't accepted the UK as their home. So they always act as a foreigner, which you then see the challenges that come as acting as a foreigner. So I think to take that stance and sort of adopt that mentality that just because I am black, I therefore need to work harder, I think you're putting yourself at a disadvantage, basically.
Okay. Just to add to what both of you said, especially what John was saying before, I completely agree that the answer is still no, we shouldn't have to work 10 times harder in any situation as a standard rule. But there are instances whereby, like you said, whether it's in education, where there are disadvantages, whether there's a language barrier or whatnot, whereby we do need to take extra steps to get up to date, to get up to scratch, to be up to the same level. You gave the example of, coming in and being put into the learning support, and you've had to prove yourself to work yourself out of that. I identify with that as well. When I came into the country, I was put into the top sets for most of my classes. English language was one of the top sets. I went in, they had a very, very simple exam one day. It was just singular and plural. But no one had told me what was going on.
Right.
When I was trying to ask the question of what's going on, everyone was like hiding their books and just at the end of it, I failed the test, and then I got dropped from A set to like D or something like that. And by the time I finished high school, I was almost back into A set. So I've had to work harder in that regard to get back up to that situation. So I completely agree with you. There are instances whereby we have to, work a little bit harder to get up to scratch. But as a general rule, I don't think we should.
Sorry, just because of Toyin's story, I think what I will say is that there are definitely, because you are black, you are scrutinized more. I will definitely say that. 100%. So in that sense, then probably a yes to the question, because same example, when I was in school, I was in top set. Now, gets to the end of year 8, I get moved down one set below.
Why?
Because of my behavior. The interesting thing is, I was just bantering as much as some of the lads in the top set who were still in the top set. Do you know what I mean? But all of a sudden, I've been moved down because of my behavior. Now,
you're a distraction.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm like, I'm a distraction. Do you get me? So there's definitely experiences there where I could look back and go, that was probably racist. Looking at it. And I probably didn't have the vocab to, articulate it then, but now I can. Now, in that sense, yes. But like Toyin said, because I don't know whether it was sort of blind ignorance or whatever it was, because I didn't pay attention to it's because of the colour of my skin then. By the time we finished, again, I was back in the top set because my abilities spoke for themselves. Do you know what I mean? So when it comes to the exams and I'm able to write it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I think we do work 10 times harder than now you're saying it. The reason why I'm saying that is because think about it this way. The reason why a lot of you both were in top set. Now they never let me enter that. They let me enter top set, but it's okay. But think about it this way. How much were you working at home? How much did you have to prove yourself? You didn't. Okay, so you're just natural. Okay, I'll speak for myself. So for myself, for example, because of the doubts that they had on me, because of the fact that I had to be the best of the best to even try and touch top set. Put it this way, I never touched top set, but I was beating guys in top set throughout my secondary school experience. Do you know what I mean? So I had to reach that level to even be considered. There was an instance where we had 6 people in the middle set who wanted to do top set exams.
Yeah.
Now they had all the grades they needed to do those top set exams. Now 5 of those 6 people were ethnic minorities. And they said to us, I won't say the school because I don't want to embarrass them. They said to us, you need to achieve 100% in a double science exam in order for you to be considered for the higher. 100%. No top set student had that requirement. Funnily enough, we all achieved it. Now, they still wanted to give excuses. Now, I question, was that racist? Was it not? We'll leave that for others to judge. But in those kind of situations, you see what I mean in terms of we have actually worked harder. Maybe we're not seeing it because we are just wired to work hard because our parents tell us to.
I don't disagree with you. I think when I look back on my life and knowing Sam's experience and probably yours experience as well, we do work harder. We do work a lot hard. We work very hard for where we are at. But going back to the question of should we be doing that? The answer is still no.
Still no, yep.
I think especially in instances whereby in environments whereby we're a lot more visible, I feel like there's we're a lot more aware of we need to, I don't know how to frame it. Basically, in my work environment, when I first joined, I was pretty much the only black person on my floor in my company that I could see anyways. Yeah. So I was a lot more visible to people. So if I'm failing in my work, in my career, if I'm not doing things,
it's evident.
It's evident.
It's the black guy downstairs.
It's the new black guy that just started. You get me? But if you're excelling, you know, you're a lot more visible as well. Oh, the new guy that just started, he's smashing it, he's doing better than anyone else.
That's true.
But yeah, we definitely work hard. But should we be having to work extra hard in instances whereby it's not us trying to catch up to where, you know, things are at, you know, language barrier and whatnot? I still think the answer is no as a standard.
Okay. I agree with how you've arrived at.
Yeah.
I thought, I'm not going to lie, I thought that this conversation was going to go left.
You ready to fight?
Just because, I was ready to fight you because one thing I was going to try and kind of explore was identifying the fact that there are barriers, there are disadvantages that face us on a daily basis. It's how we navigate them. And then your point, Sam, on sort of the intersectionality. So exploring the fact that being black in Britain is very different for everybody. So, for example, if I look at myself being a black teacher in the classroom, I had an all right experience with my students, I'm not going to lie. My students loved me. I had a good relationship with them. However, speaking to other black women, immigrant women that have come to the UK in their adult life, stepping into the classroom with a Nigerian accent or Congolese accent, whatever it is that it looks like, unfortunately, that experience is just not being kind. Do you know what I mean? It's not being pleasant because children can be ruthless.
They are.
Do you know what I mean? So the most I got was, miss, where's your accent from? You're not from these ways.
Yeah.
No, I'm from Leeds, so there's a banter about that. You know, she's not from this side of the waters.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're not from this country and the children can identify that you're not from here and they see you as foreign and they can't understand, you are the subject of banter in the classroom. Do you know what I mean? So I agree with that in terms of what it looks like to a black person from person to person is different.
Yeah.
You're giving me PTSD right now.
She's out of shoes, man.
Mate. So yeah, I agree with that it looks different to everyone and So yeah.
But
we didn't have to time out for that one.
I was even going to ask, is that then only applicable to black people or across just all ethnic minorities? Because I was thinking of this guy, so I always remember this guy, Indian guy. When I first came into year 6, obviously, like you say, we're doing multiplication when we're in Africa, like 12 times table. You know that for
got to
like the ABCs, lad.
Exactly, like literally though. So I came, these men are doing multiplication, like I think it was the 6 times table. And this guy was looking at my work and I was like, bro, do you not know this? And I was so surprised that everyone didn't know this. Now, by the time we both finished high school, he finished with an A in maths. I finished with a C. Right. Here's the difference. Well, exactly. Hey, here's the difference, right? When we got to year 10, I remember just being in class and again, like I was saying, I was messing about and the teacher was like, Sam, stop messing about. You got the potential to get an A. And in my head, what I heard was, you've got an A. Not you've got the potential, you've got the A. Do you know what I mean? So
Objective success.
I didn't think, let me work hard. And you know what? Maybe I do need to take that attitude of let me go work twice as hard. Because I know for him, for that guy, when they went home, all of them, a lot of the sort of Indian students, they were getting extra tuition. They were so by the time they were finishing with A stars, blah 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 blah. But then you then have to ask the question: now, where are we all now? Did it even matter that much?
Doesn't matter that
like
much.
when do you adopt that attitude of a good work ethic? When does it come into play? Well, sorry, you asked the questions. My bad.
Yeah.
I know what you mean in terms of when does it come into play. But I feel like it comes into play earlier on.
I was
Do you
going to
think
say
so?
from the beginning.
From the beginning. Like, think about it.
Okay.
GCSEs. Yeah. If we got A's in GCSEs, the sixth forms that we're going to,
Yeah.
the doors that are opening is slightly different.
Universities and...
If we got A's in A levels,
Yep.
the universities we're applying to,
Different.
it's different. You get me?
Even before that, the plus exams that you can do in your primary school, for example.
Yeah.
Now you could go to a grammar school.
Yeah.
If you do very well, you can get some.
Blue coat.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't. Yeah.
Oh, it's funny you said that because I thought you were talking about my school.
Go on.
Maths is not the same school.
Definitely not. But you get doors that are opening up to you. Like, for example, I went to a Saturday school for maths. Now, that wasn't open to everyone.
Yeah.
You had to do very well.
Yeah.
And then you got recognized.
Yeah.
Now, this is why connections are important. I think this might be some of the disadvantages that ethnic minorities have because you're coming to a new land. You don't have those connections.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we had them. So I was told about this school and I didn't actually get the grades to enter it. I just went.
Mine just pulled up.
I said hello. So I just entered and then that was it. But it just shows you that you're right. I think it starts from early on.
Yeah.
It really does start from early on. The danger, I would say, in our community with this hardworking mentality, it tends to be only focused upon a specific type of work. It's medicine, engineering. Now economics is added to it, accounting because of money, tech. But it shows itself in many different ways. So I think it has to be very early on. And I wouldn't try to dissuade Black people from working hard. Work hard.
Work hard.
Work
Life is hard.
But
Work
you know
is
what I
hard.
would say to that though? What I would say to that, especially from where we've come from, and I think we were talking about this the other day, Chiedza, we focus, and our parents a lot focus on the method. So it's like you have to work hard to get anything. Like if you get something and it's easy, then you don't deserve it. It's almost like if you don't work hard for something, then you don't deserve it. And I think that takes away the element of work smarter than working harder. And I suppose that's what I was trying to get at in that we probably, working hard like you guys have said, I do agree then, it comes into play, but we also need to work smarter, a lot smarter, so that it's not just, if I'm trying to do something, the method that I use must be hard for me to know that, I've sweated the road before now I deserve it.
Yeah.
No, just work smart.
Yeah.
Do you get me? And working smart, you're still working hard. Do you get me? So,
I can tell you perfected the working smart life.
hey, it's about, hey.
Path of least resistance is Sam.
Feet up, yeah.
I don't know anybody that likes comfort as much.
Early
as Sam.
retirement.
Let's not talk about it. Let's go to the next question.
Okay, so I think I'm happy with how we've arrived at that, as I've said. Should we work smart? Should we have to work harder? As Toyin said, it shouldn't have to be the case. But going back to our understanding, our definition of work ethic, overall, we should all strive to be the best version of ourselves. We should strive to be excellent and should try to be the best of the best in whatever capacity.
Yeah.
But should it be a comparison of race or ethnicities? No, it shouldn't. It should just be a standard attitude to work. So I'll have that. Thank you for listening to this week's episode. To make sure you don't miss the next one or the one after that, ensure to follow us on all podcast platforms and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you.